Hello and welcome to my channel. In this tutorial I'm gonna show you a stitch. I know many of you are familiar with this stitch. The name of the stitch is the crunch or moss stitch. It's reversible, but I just did a slight modification, and this sample is the modification that I did. The classical crunch stitch, it looks like this. So as you can see, it's some difference between them. I wanted to do something that, you know, even though I like this stitch, the classical crunch stitch, it takes some time until you finish, especially if you want to do a blanket, something like that. It takes some time. So I wanted to make something that to make a change, but still to keep the look of the stitch, but to go a little bit faster. As you can see, this is the modification that I did. So this stitch works very fast. It's the same pretty much, but it has let's say, like I said, a slightly modification. So for this stitch you're gonna chain even numbers. I chain here 12. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna skip the first chain, this one, and in the second chain from the hook we're gonna go in there and we're gonna start the stitch already. If you like to put a row of single crochet in when you work the chain, then do that, but I'm just gonna start with the stitch directly. So we skip the first chain, and in the second chain from the hook we're gonna go in there and we're gonna do a slip stitch. Yarn over the hook. In the same chain where we did this slip stitch, we're gonna go back in there and we're gonna do a half double crochet. Now we're gonna skip the next chain, and in the next chain we're gonna do a slip stitch. Yarn over the hook, and in the same chain where we did this slip stitch we're gonna do a half double crochet. We're gonna skip the next chain, and in the next chain we're gonna do a slip stitch and a half double crochet in this chain. So you start with the slip stitch first, yarn over the hook, and you're gonna do in the same chain a half double crochet. So we're gonna do like this until we finish the row. Skip the next chain, and in the next chain we're gonna do a slip stitch first, yarn over the hook, and we go back into the same chain and we're gonna do a half double crochet. Skip the next chain, and the next chain we're gonna do the same. We start with a slip stitch first, then yarn over the hook, we're gonna do a half double crochet in the same chain. So you're gonna be left with two chains. Skip the next chain, and in the last chain we're gonna do the same. One slip stitch, yarn over the hook, and we're gonna go back into the last chain and we're gonna do a half double crochet, chain one, turn your work, and now we're gonna skip this, and in the next stitch here, which what are you gonna do, you're gonna do all this, the slip stitch and half double crochet in the stitch that looks where we did the slip stitch from the previous row. So this is the slip stitch, and this one is the half double crochet. So we're gonna skip this, and in the next we're gonna do a slip stitch, yarn over the hook, and in the same stitch we're gonna go back in there and we're gonna do a half double crochet. So you're gonna skip the half double crochet, and in the chain, in the stitch that looks like the slip stitch from the previous row, we're gonna do all that. We're gonna start in there and we're gonna do a slip stitch first, yarn over the hook, and we go back into the same stitch and we're gonna do a half double crochet. Skip one stitch, and in the next we're gonna do a slip stitch, yarn over the hook, and we go back into the same stitch and we're gonna do a half double crochet. Skip the next stitch, which you're gonna skip the half double crochet from the previous row. Yeah? we skip one stitch, and in the next we're gonna start with a slip stitch, and we go back into the same stitch, and we're gonna do a half double crochet, skip one, and in the next we're gonna do the same, slip stitch, yarn over the hook, and we're gonna do a half double crochet into the same stitch. So skip the half double crochet, skip this stitch, and in the last stitch here we're gonna do the same. We're gonna go in there and we're gonna do a slip stitch, yarn over the hook, and we go back into the same stitch, and we're gonna do a half double crochet, chain one, turn your work. So again, you're gonna skip this, the half double crochet, this stitch, the first one, and in the next stitch, which is the slip stitch from the previous row. That way you're gonna recognize how to do it. So we want to start with a slip stitch, yarn over the hook, and we go back again into the same stitch, and we're gonna do a half double crochet, skip the next stitch, and in the next you're gonna put in there a slip stitch and a half double crochet. So skip the next stitch, and in the next, so you're gonna do all this into the slip stitch from the previous row. And I think this way goes a little bit faster and it's taller. And the samples that I showed you in the beginning, I did with a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, and it's the same yarn size. So you skip the next one, and in the last stitch here you're gonna do the same, one slip stitch. You're gonna start with that, yarn over the hook, and you go back and you do a half double crochet, chain one, turn your work, and it's gonna look like this. So again, you're gonna skip because you did the half double crochet. So when you turn your work, you're gonna skip the half double crochet. You see the next stitch, it's the slip stitch from the previous row. So we're gonna go into the second stitch here, and we're gonna do the same. You do a slip stitch first, yarn over the hook, and we're gonna go back again into the same stitch and do a half double crochet, skip the next stitch, and in the next slip stitch first, and then half double crochet in the same stitch, skip, and in the next we do a slip stitch first, yarn over the hook, go back again and do the half double crochet, skip, and in the next, yeah, it's very easy. It is the same, has almost the same look, but I don't know, I have the impression that it goes fast. Even though I have a blanket, baby blanket tutorial with this crunch stitch, I did it the classical way, and well, even though I said it's going fast, went fast, still I want it faster. You know, I don't have the patience to stay for 2 weeks to crochet a blanket. So you skip the next stitch, and in the last stitch you're gonna do the same. You're gonna go in there and you're gonna do a slip stitch and a half double crochet, chain one, turn your work. I'm gonna do this row and then I'm gonna stop. So you're gonna skip the first stitch here, and in the next, this one, you're gonna do a slip stitch first, yarn over the hook, go back again and do the half double crochet, skip, and in the next you're gonna do a slip stitch and half double crochet in the same stitch, and so on. It's really, really easy. Skip, and in the next you do a slip stitch first, and then you're gonna do a half double crochet, skip, and in the next you do all this. So skip the next stitch, and in the last stitch in there you're gonna do a slip stitch, yarn over the hook, go back again and do the half double crochet, chain one, and you start again. It's gonna look like this. So this is the classical how you say, crunch stitch. Looks like this, and this is the one that we did a little bit you know, with skipping one chain, and in the next chain we do 2 stitches in one chain. So yeah, and the edges, this is the crunch stitch modified, so you have this kind of edge. So if you, let me put this a little bit, okay, this is the, I don't think you need, for example, to put border. It looks really nice, this, and it's the same both sides. So if you like this style modified, like you chain even numbers, you skip the first one, and the second chain you start with 1 slip stitch, and in the same chain you do the half double crochet, and it's a little bit taller. As you can see, the distance between these lines, it's shorter compared to this one, but kind of keeps the same, you know, these lines keeps the same style. So depends now which one you like to do. With the you see the classical crunch stitch, these are the edges comparing to this one, to the modified one. So if you like this, you can keep it, you do the classical style, or if you want this, you can do this one, and it goes faster. The distance between the lines here, it's a little bit taller and faster, and I did the same with the same crochet hook with the same size yarn, but you can see it's different. It goes, I like the modified one, it goes really fast, and it's comparing to this one. Look at this, this is not so thick, but this one, the modified one, it's thick. So which one do you prefer? You know, it's up to you, but I like the edges to this modified one. It's like you don't need to put any, it's like it has border already, you know. So like I said, if you like, for example, this one I started already with the stitch. I didn't do the 1 row of single crochet with the classical one, and this one too I started directly with the stitch. I didn't put 1 row of single crochet. So you can leave it like this, the top and the bottom, or if you want, you put a single crochet first row and then you finish with a single crochet, which way you like. But I like this modified one, it goes fast. I like the sides, the edges, so you choose. It's reversible, the same back and front. Yeah, okay, well, thank you for watching, have a good day, bye bye.